Warning: the following video may contain harsh language, crude humor, and may offend unintentionally, and is an affiliate of Scythering Productions. The opinions and comments expressed do not reflect those of the Scythering team. All credit and criticism shall be warranted to TWS Productions. Viewer discretion is advised.
Welcome to That Wrestling Show. I'm back and ready to go. Not a whole lot of stories this week because there were a lot of spoilers in WWE and in TNA, so we're not going to do any spoilers. We're not going to do any backstage thoughts or anything, just strict news and a personal thought of what I think of possibly what might be wrong with the wrestling world. But why don't we get into the news of this week? WWE apparently has something big set in store for Sin Cara at WrestleMania 28. Their main focus is to actually break a world record with having the most masks at an event. Well, WWE, you're going to try really hard to break a world record of the most masks at an event. That is going to be really tricky to do, seeing as how CMIL and AAA tend to do that on a nightly basis. They have about 30 guys wrestling, and they all have masks. I'd say out of 30 guys, maybe 2 of them don't have masks. How you're going to pull this off, I have no idea. Good luck, WWE. Now, unless they mean the most masks in an event, as in period, as in with all the people also involved, as in including the fans, maybe. We'll see how well that goes. The biggest news breaking out again. Matt Hardy was arrested again, but this time it was for possession of drugs. Matt Hardy. Not Jeff Hardy, Matt Hardy. You know, the good one. He actually had been pulled over. He had trouble speaking and repeatedly has been more so trying to check himself into a rehab facility. There's a lot of rumors that police coerced Rebby Sky into getting into Matthew's house and found the drugs. There's reports flying around that she was conned, that Matt Hardy was behind the wheel. You know, this is coming off of a guy that 2 weeks ago came out on YouTube and said, I'm going to end everything, came out and said it wasn't a suicide video, it was just the end of my career. He said he was going to help people with substance abuse problems, and now he's getting pulled over again and is now hit with a drug charge. I don't know exactly what the hell is going on with Matt Hardy or Jeff Hardy right now, to be 100% honest. Those of you that are Matt fans, you know what? You want to stay a Matt fan and be loyal? Go ahead. For me, it's kind of hard to be loyal to somebody where they make the same mistake or a series of mistakes right in a row. You know, I feel sorry for the guy, but don't think I'm going to sit there and promote Matt Hardy as our savior to the world. The sad thing is, it's kind of sick how true CM Punk was in his promos towards Jeff Hardy. It might seem to lean more so on Matt now. Yoshitatsu actually said in an interview that his new look, those of you that don't know, Yoshitatsu has a brand new look, is actually in tribute to the great Muta, but in no way is he actually trying to be Muta. He still wants to be Yoshitatsu, but he wants to be the top Japanese star in America. So Yoshitatsu, yes, if you haven't seen him, half of his face is painted, and he does kind of have like a darker persona, to say the least. It's kind of funny how we went into it saying in Japan everyone seems to have a dark persona. I mean, you had the Great Nita, the Great Muta, you had Kishin Liger, you had Great Koji, you had all these guys that have alter egos or darker egos, and you know, it's no surprise that WWE is kind of sort of capturing on this, or Yoshitatsu figured it might be a smart idea and give it a try. And you know what, to be 100% honest, You know, I kind of like it. He's not ripping off of Great Muta. He's just paying in tribute to him. And to be honest, Great Muta is one of the reasons why he became a wrestler. So Yoshitatsu, I'm all for it. SmackDown, believe it or not, is really starting to take a turn for the worse as attendance is now hitting all-time lows. Literally half of the arena, and this is for the live event in Ohio, was actually tarped off, and they kept all the cameras to one side, making it appear that it was a full crowd. Yes, SmackDown not doing too well in the ratings right now, not doing too well in attendance. WWE, if you kind of look at the SmackDown roster and compare it to the Raw roster, the proof is kind of in the pudding. You only have two real star baby faces that are really going to generate any kind of interest. One being Randy Orton and the other being Sin Cara. The other faces you're really not using that much with, and you have so many heels that's a little ridiculous. SmackDown, let's face it, is kind of boring, and to be 100% honest, if I was to miss a SmackDown event, I don't think I'd really feel the need to, feel like I committed a sin. Well, believe it or not, Chavo Guerrero is actually pissed off at WWE. Actually, he was more so angry at John Cena for actually hitting his 12th world title victory. Actually being very close to Ric Flair's record. He said that if John Cena should break Ric Flair's record or meet Ric Flair's record, he will actually, and I quote, he will actually completely boycott professional wrestling. Chavo Guerrero, I don't want to boycott wrestling completely because it was your bread and butter, and they did build things off of your back, but I kind of agree. John Cena winning his 12th world title, yeah, I kind of agree with you on it. It's a little bit ridiculous, but we'll get to that at the end part of the show. And the final bit of news, and like I said, news has been very slim here, other than spoilers. Dolph Ziggler actually suffered a fractured mandible. Yes, a small mandible, believe it or not, that's what it says. From Hugh Jackman's punch on Monday Night Raw, though there are some people from TMZ that actually claim that it might not be legit, and it's more so a work. So Dolph Ziggler, maybe he's injured, maybe he's not, but he's supposed to be wearing a mouthpiece to Raw, but Ziggler's been injured before. I wouldn't expect too much about it. If WWE wants to make a quick buck on it, go right ahead. And now, that's pretty much the news for the week. Other than that, not really a whole lot, just a lot of spoilers. I heard that Vince McMahon was pissed off on Raw. I heard that they have plans for Sin Cara. TNA's still doing their own thing, and just a lot of spoilers. Now, main reason why we're here. Wrestling fans, whether you agree with me or disagree with me, that's your own prerogative, but let's face it, we're all under the same umbrella. We're wrestling fans. Whether you want to call me a mark, whether you want to call me a smart, whether you want to call me a fanatic, whether you want to call me a fan, it doesn't really matter. WWE, now I know that you guys are never going to see this video. I know you're never going to hear this video, and I know you're never going to know the sound of my voice. So I have a lot of comfort in knowing that what I say right here is probably never going to reach your ears. But if it does reach your ears, I want you to kind of take it with a tiny grain of salt. WWE, there are a lot of things that I could say that is wrong with the company. I could stand here just like every other internet fan and point out every single thing that's wrong with WWE. But I'm not going to do that. I could sit here and praise WWE to high heaven, but I'm not going to do that. Night of Champions kind of showed me a little something different that WWE, they kind of shot themselves in the foot over. The main thing here is the whole Chavo Guerrero thing. It got me thinking. John Cena, he's only been in WWE for about 8 to 9 years, and he's already captured 12 world titles. Now, to be 100% honest, that seems slightly ridiculous. Now, I could stand kind of go, yes, all right, he's a great wrestler. He's already captured 12 titles in a short time, but at the same time, it's not like he's had a long list of opponents either. He hasn't had a long list of great opponents, to say the least. Yes, he had Triple H. Yes, he had Shawn Michaels. Yes, he had Kurt Angle. Yes, he had Chris Jericho. That's really it if you think about it. There hasn't really been a whole echelon of superstars that Cena has defeated. When was the last time you actually felt that John Cena's title was an illegitimate threat? When he fought CM Punk, no one believed that Punk was going to win the title. When he fought the Great Khali or Umaga or when he fought JBL, you really didn't feel like there was some kind of a threat to his title. When he fought Randy Orton, you knew whether he loses it tonight or loses it tomorrow, he's going to get it back at the next pay-per-view. When he fought Batista or Bobby Lashley, yeah, there was some kind of small threat, but again, it didn't really feel like it was a massive threat. One of his biggest rivalries was Edge. But yeah, they never really made Edge a true champion, you know what I mean? He held the title, he lost the title, he held the title, he lost the title. It's not necessarily John Cena's fault because, let's face it, he makes money, he does what he has to do, he does with everything he's supposed to correctly, he sells the merchandise, he gets the kids interested, and that's exactly what he's supposed to do. So I'm not going to bash John Cena on that, but my main problem is WWE, it's not that we don't want to watch you anymore, it's just that we're tired of seeing the same old thing. I mean, if you look at it from this, the reason why most of us became wrestling fans, if it wasn't for the wrestling, it was for the story. And if it wasn't for the story, it was for the art. And if it wasn't for the art, it was mainly for the suspension of belief. Yeah, we go to a movie and we know it's fake, but we still walk out of there and we go, wow, that was incredible. One of my favorite things outside of pro wrestling is horror movies. I love horror movies. Yeah, I know they're fake, but if I'm going to pay $9.50 to go see a horror movie, I want to walk out of there going, that was a damn good movie. I got a little scared, the special effects were nice, nothing was too crazy, nothing was a little nuts. It was a pretty damn good movie. We haven't had that in WWE in so long that we actually look elsewhere to try to make up for all the mistakes that's going on. Now, one of the big problems with WWE, and you can agree with me or disagree with me all you want, because let's face it, it's me paying for you. That's how you gotta really look at it. One lowly fan is paying your salary. Without us, you guys wouldn't be standing. But I'm not gonna get into that argument because that's a whole argument for another story, and you've probably already heard it. Here's the problem. John Cena, love him or hate him, he does what he does and he has to do what he has to do. But the big problem is, it's not that the fans hate John Cena, it's just that they're bored of John Cena. I mean, maybe if you gave us a little something different with John Cena, we might get a little interested. Yeah, you got this whole thing with The Rock, but the problem is there's one part of the crowd that hate The Rock for what he did, and there's some fans that are still loyal to The Rock for what he's done. But at the same time, I don't think it's going to generate enough interest. And who are you going to blame? You'll blame the sound guy, or you'll blame CM Punk, or Randy Orton, or the venue, or the pay-per-view, or you'll blame something other than the fact that it's your own damn fault. Here's the problem. John Cena is a 12-time champion. The only time he hasn't had that belt for any length period of time was 10 months. Other than that, since 2005, John Cena has been at the upper echelon of success. Now, the big problem with that is he's always in the upper card. Now, yes, I understand he's your main guy, he's your top guy, he's your cream of the crop, I get that. But how many times is John Cena going to be at the top of the card? When was the last time you saw John Cena open a pay-per-view, have a mid-card match? Here's one, legitimately lose a match. And I mean clean, without any kind of interference from the outside or any kind of schmaz or anything. When was the last time you saw John Cena lose clean? It's been very rare and few between. Does that make him a good wrestler? Possibly yes from storyline perspective, but from another perspective, it kind of makes him a little bit overpowered. It's kind of like if you're going to build John Cena to be this superhero, you got to give him a great super villain. The problem is, every time you take the title away from Cena and give it to Del Rio, or give it to Edge, or give it to Randy Orton, or give it to Sheamus, or give it to Swagger, or give it to anybody, that character immediately becomes a heel, or instantly a cowardly heel, or a conniving heel. He's not much of a threat. All of the gumption and all of the power that he had gets fluttered away. John Cena is Superman to a leaf. These heel champions or these bad guy champions don't represent a true villain. Now you can stand there and tell me, well, it's a perception of white versus black, but many shades of gray. But if we're breaking away from the Attitude Era and going kind of sort of back to the PG style, if you're going to make John Cena your poster boy for WWE, have him salute the flag and make all the kids happy, then you should give him a great supervillain. Yeah, the kids are going to get behind the heels that are going up against them, but at the same time, it's really not doing it. Alberto Del Rio, we wanted to see him champion, but he got pushed too quick. Who gets the blame for it? Alberto Del Rio. You're the ones that gave him the title, yet you say it was his fault, that's why we took the title away and gave it to John Cena. Maybe if you actually made Del Rio a credible champion, a credible contender, or a credible fighter that is a legitimate threat to John Cena, people would be more interested. Whether or not John Cena won or lost the fight, they would be so interested in the fact that maybe this is the guy that can't beat John Cena. He is that damn talented. But no, it's the same story every single time. John Cena has the belt, he defends it, he loses it, he gets it back at the next pay-per-view, or 2 pay-per-views later. It's at that point where it's becoming so predictable and so blasé, we don't care who's the title holder. In fact, we tend to look past the title. We just don't care who's holding the title because we know eventually John Cena is going to get a hold of it again. It's at that point where we are actually looking elsewhere. We're actually naming other champions that'll never be. Like, we'll never see Cody Rhodes. We'll never see Sin Cara. We're never going to see John Morrison. We never will see CM Punk. Granted, he had it for 3 weeks, but really, look how far that run went. There are so many things that are so wrong with this whole giving the belt to John Cena thing. I can understand Chavo Guerrero's obsession and anger towards WWE right now. And in some retrospect, yes, it is kind of a slap in the face that, again, every single time he wins the belt, he gets the title. Now, if you want to look at it from a storyline perspective, that makes him a damn good champion. Hell, Triple H did it 13 times. That doesn't mean necessarily make him a bad person, but he did have a split in time before winning the titles, and he wrestled matches. John Cena doesn't necessarily wrestle matches, to be 100% honest. Yes, the guy can wrestle when he has to, but he wrestles when he also wants to. And let's face it, he doesn't necessarily give it a 100% effort in a wrestling environment. I mean, come on. I grew up in the golden age of Hulk Hogan where I had to train, say my prayers, and eat my vitamins. I drank out of the cup of Hulk Hogan, I will admit. But even when he lost, I walked out of the arena going, he'll get it back one day. It may take him a year, but he'll get it back one day. And you didn't always see Hulk Hogan at the top of the show. You saw him at the start of the show or in the middle of the show. He wasn't shoved down your throat to the point to where he was the only guy that you had to watch. Right now, Monday Night Raw, there's only one person to watch for the kids, and that's John Cena. And while we're on that subject, WWE, you really need to make up your minds on what it is you're trying to be. If you're going to have an anti-bully campaign, by all means, go for it. Put your stamp of approval on it. Sell the t-shirts, sell the hats. Have John Cena go out and make 1,000 wishes come true. I don't care. Do whatever it is to make yourself in the good graces. But if John Cena is your poster boy, and you're going to have an anti-bully campaign, there is no way in hell you can have your poster boy, your main talent, your top guy, go around making fat jokes and stealing cars. What kind of message are you sending these children that it's okay to make jokes of fat people, people that are lower than you, people that are weaker than you, and it's okay to steal their possessions for a cheap laugh? Yet people say, oh, it was just for a joyride. No, that's Grand Theft Auto. Not for nothing, WWE. But you really got to figure out where you stand. If you want to have an anti-bully campaign, have all your faces project what you're trying to say and have all the heels be the bad guys. But why is it a complete role reversal? What in the hell is going on? You're telling the kids, don't be a bully, but it's okay to steal cars. Don't be a bully, but it's okay to call this person fat, or to make jokes about him, or to punch him in the face because they were just delivering a message that their champion couldn't be in attendance that day. What kind of message are you really sending? And that's my main reason what's wrong with WWE. They don't have any identity anymore. They don't really have much of an outlet anymore. And it's not that we fans are sick of the product. It's not that we fans are tired of the product. And it's not that we fans abolish the product. We just want something different. We don't need the pyro and the lights and the spectacle and the grandeur. We don't need all that stuff. What we want is wrestling back. What we want to see is competition back. It's not that we don't care for John Cena anymore. It's not that we hate John Cena. It's just that he's always fucking winning. He's always at the top of the ladder. There's got to be one guy in the WWE that could legitimately beat him and he could never touch. That just makes the whole thing go round. Yeah, CM Punk beat John Cena. He had a great run for 3 weeks. Then you screwed it all up in SummerSlam and you really screwed it up at Night of Champions. Who walks out the winner of that whole thing? John Cena. Again, nothing wrong against the guy, but you gotta give someone else a little bit of credit. Eventually, those kids that are watching John Cena are gonna grow up and get sick of him, and then what are you gonna do? There is no other talent that you have faith in to actually do anything with. And that is the main reason why I agree with Chavo Guerrero. Now on the flip side, I understand what you're doing. I understand how you're doing it. And I get what you're trying to make John Cena to be. Believe me, I agree with you 100%. But as a fan, as much as I love this whole sport of pro wrestling, as much as I love the grandeur, as much as I love the mystification of it, there's no suspension of belief anymore. It gets to the point to where no one cares about the pay-per-views. You can make all these predictions all you want and get them all right or get them all wrong, but it's because you don't want to be right anymore. You just don't want to see John Cena with the belt. You don't want to see Randy Orton with the belt. You don't want to see the same people for the last 5 years hold a title. You want to see him wrestle, but you don't want to see him with the title. You don't want to see him in the title hunt. You want to see him in different rivalries, other rivalries, different feuds. It's perfectly okay to have a top star, believe me, a top star not have a title and have a long feud with somebody else. Believe me, it works. I mean, you gave the belt to Christian just to give it to Randy Orton. What's the whole point? WWE, that has been your problem for the last 5 to 6 years. And as a loyal WWE fan, and I mean a loyal WWE fan, it gets hard to the point to where we have an open chat room, watch your Raw, and no one's paying attention to the show. It's not that the chat room is a distraction, it's just that we already know what's going to happen. We're sick and tired of the same flavor. We don't want vanilla, we want chocolate. But if you can't give us chocolate, at least give us a dab of strawberry or something. WWE, I know you're not going to listen to this. I know no one's going to care about this. And if you do get a hold of this tape or this whole recording, and you actually listen to the voice of the voiceless, and you actually do a little tweak, that's perfectly fine. Again, I'm not saying I hate your product. I'm not saying I love your product either. But I'm also not saying that everything you're doing is right and everything you're doing is wrong. I understand from a business aspect what you're trying to do, but it is time to change. It is definitely time to move on. Give that torch to somebody else. John Cena has seen his day 1,000,000 times over. We as wrestling fans are at that point where we're done with it. We don't want it anymore. In fact, when Del Rio won the belt, no one cared because we knew he's going to lose it at the next show, and quite frankly, he did. That is our show for this week's episode of That Wrestling Show. A long rant that came off my chest, but it's something that I had to do. I'd like to just thank everyone that sent all the get well wishes from a motorcycle accident. I'm doing perfectly okay. As you can see, I'm pretty much healed up, doing all right. I'm bouncing around, got brand new glasses and everything. Still kind of banged up. I still have a little bit of pain in my leg, but that is going away little by little as the days go on. That Wrestling Show is still pumping out, still doing its thing, still doing everything that we can. I thank everyone for subscribing and sending all your get well wishes. I also want to thank everyone every Monday and every pay-per-view for showing up at the chat room. It's at our website at thatwrestlingshow.webs.com. There is an open live chat room. It costs you nothing. All you do is you show up at the chat room and you can chat with myself and DM. We tend to get along with everybody. You can talk about wrestling. You can talk about and talk about anything you want. Talk about the pay-per-view. Talk about the wrestlers. Talk about wrestling in general. It doesn't have to be WWE. It could be about TNA or New Japan or ROH or anything. Everyone that has been coming into the chat rooms every Monday and every pay-per-view, we thank you 1,000,000 times over. It is a blast. We actually look forward to Monday now because we now have an open chat room and we talk to people that like or dislike the things we say or like or dislike the stars on TV, but at least it's something that's, I don't know, something different for a change. WWE won't kind of entertain us, so we tend to entertain ourselves. But other than that, I want to thank everyone again for all the get well wishes and for showing up at the chat room. Send out the message, send out all the information you can. Next week, we're going to have a hopefully totally different show because, well, the news, again, like I said, was quite bare, and I ain't giving away any spoilers. I am DM from That Wrestling Show saying, until next time, I'll see you then.